The Two and Out CFL podcast with Travis Currah and Sheldon Jones starts now.
And here we are getting you ready for week 8 of the 2025 CFL season, getting ourselves ready for the week to come as well. But Sheldon, here we are, 24 hours after the passing of the King of Darkness, the great Ozzy Osbourne. Here I am today wearing my Black Sabbath shirt that I got in the UK 13 years ago. I'll never forget that rock pilgrimage for me. It was a solo trip. I went to the UK for the weekend, Sheldon, which I kind of still live life that way. I drive to Regina, 8.5 hours, go to the Labor Day Classic and drive home. So, that's kind of the way I still roll. That's a smaller scale than flying to the UK in on a Thursday evening and going to the show Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then flying home Monday. But I made it happen. And it was Remembrance Day 2011 when it was announced. And 11/11/11 at 11 o'clock. And I was actually at a Remembrance Day ceremony. I got out of the ceremony. I checked the announcement, saw that Sabbath is going to be at Donington. And it was always on my rock and roll bucket list to see some rock festival at Donington. And then a few weeks later, Metallica announces the Saturday headliner, and that clinched it for me. Off to Donington I went. And to see them on their home turf, and those European crowds, they're a different animal. As a whole, I think that North American crowds can be sort of reserved. Things can get pretty testy, in a mosh pit and things like that. But in Europe, not only do they sing to the lyrics, they sing to the guitars, they sing their own songs they've come up with in between songs. To see Metallica and Black Sabbath with 100,000 people is something I'll never forget. So I was lucky, man. I saw Ozzy at an Ozfest in Seattle, 2007. It was my first big boy trip. Out of Canada after high school, and to experience that atmosphere, and then seeing Sabbath in Vancouver and Saskatchewan and Edmonton and Ozzy as well. Did you ever get to see the Ozman?
I did. I got to see the holy trinity of Black Sabbath and Ozzy. I got to see Black Sabbath with Dio in Regina on the Heaven and Hell tour. I know that's not Ozzy, but still Sabbath. And then I got to see Black Sabbath and Ozzy 2 separate times in Saskatoon. So I'm sure we were at both of those concerts together.
Yeah.
But so it was great. I loved, War Pigs is in my top 3 songs of all time. So I always love listening to War Pigs, and just the energy of that crowd. And even by the time I saw Ozzy, he wasn't moving around so much. He had a little kind of half moon taped. We were in the upper deck, so you could see it. There was a little half moon kind of taped around his microphone stand, and he walked to there and he would wave, and then he'd walk to the other side and wave, but he wouldn't leave that area. But he could still sing. Even this last couple weeks ago, the farewell concert, I was so surprised how well he was able to sing, and so it's a bit shocking that 2 weeks later he's gone. It's not the same time frame, but it reminds me of Ultimate Warrior when he got back to the WWE, got into the Hall of Fame, had a huge promo on Monday Night Raw, then the next morning gone. It's just,
I was there for that too.
Yeah. And I just don't know if sometimes you just know when you're holding on for an event or something, and then that's all you needed before you go. But Warrior was a lot younger, I guess. But but I was listening to your show. Tam and I were both listening to your show yesterday when you were playing some 45 minutes Ozzy. That was sick, and just remembering. And yeah, it's sad, but happy too, because what a life he gave us all, and I don't think anyone ever actually thought he was going to die. Just with all the stuff that he got into, but Yeah. Crazy.
He faced a lot of demons, and I don't think
Hmm.
that's we got to be careful because it kind of gets glorified a little bit, like because it lives in rock and roll sort of
Yeah.
history right now, and it's funny because a lot of the stuff there's a lot of myths about Ozzy, but sometimes the truths actually seem a bit crazier than the myths when it comes
Yeah.
to him. So
Yeah.
to survive all of that, and I know there's probably a lot of bad things from his past too, but
Yeah.
most of the people in the music business, and I know there was some ruthless management going on with songwriting credits and all that, they don't have anything bad to say about Ozzy. And like the Grandpa Ozzy with grandkids, like the fact that I think he made it to 76 is sort of a miracle on its own.
Yeah.
And the legacy he leaves behind is unmatched. The influence he left on rock and roll and heavy metal is unmatched, and myself as well.
But even mainstream, like when they went on MTV and they had the Osbourne show,
That kind
like
of
I think there
changed
was
TV.
it did, but it also just brought like so many more people who, wouldn't be into heavy metal music
That's
and,
true.
maybe would have just scoffed at Ozzy Osbourne, but then you saw how entertaining they were on TV and their family dynamic. Yeah, it's one of the forefathers of, that like celebrity TV. So he's so influential in just different mediums and different ways, and he'll definitely be missed.
Was that on MTV too?
Yeah, I was on NPV. Yeah,
So at the same time, was Jackass and the Osbournes on MTV?
I think so. And Jersey Shore was on MTV too. Like I think that was like the right around all the same time. Like
I
of
realized they weren't music videos anymore, but
yeah,
wow, what a
yeah,
time, what
no,
an
yeah,
era on
yeah.
television.
Oh, for sure. It was nuts.
Well, I discovered Oz, or I found my way to Oz as a young, angsty teenager, and that stuck with me forever. And the
Mhm.
music will live forever as well. So rest in peace. Rest in power, Ozzy Osbourne. Or on that live album, Live and Loud, he says, when they say people like me and people that listen to me are going to hell, we're gonna have a good old time down there. So whatever you believe or where
Either
Ozzy
way,
is, I'm sure it's a good time with Lemmy and Randy Rhoads and the greats in the sky.
yes, absolutely.
Okay, man, let's I'm sure everybody fast forwarded that, okay, by the way, I'm fascinated by the whole listening to podcasts sped up. Joe Balinesky's been on this show. He confirms that he listens on YouTube at 1.8 to 2 times speed, and on Spotify listens to podcasts at 1.8 speed. I do want to give Corey Proctor on Twitter a shout out because he listens to Do It Out at half speed just to take it all in. And if that's not hardcore, I don't know what is.
Yeah, and the clip that he actually shared, it just sounds like we're the drunkest idiots in the world having a conversation after like 15 beers. And it was something like it brought a smile to my face this morning. And I'm hopefully, we're talking about Corey again. So you know what that means about his Tie Cats.
He's undefeated when he gets the 2-and-out shout out?
That is, I believe, as of this season, yes. And we didn't even shout him out last show. So, and I
Doesn't
have
work for
money on the Tie
Balineski and his
Cats.
Elks, tell you that much.
I have money on the Tie Cats this week, so
Oh,
I'm glad you mentioned him because I was certainly going to mention him later.
okay. Okay. We'll mention news came out Wednesday that the 2026 CFL Combine is going to be in Edmonton. I think March 27th through March 29th. They do have the indoor facility right at Commonwealth Stadium, which I'm sure that's what they'll be using. I doubt they'll be using the Butter Dome, which is a real place. If you aren't from Edmonton and you are on the U of A campus, there is a place called the Butter Dome. It's a little bit more yellow than butter, but there's craft sales there, there's track meets there. It's a real thing. I'm sure they'll be doing it at the Commonwealth Stadium Fieldhouse, but the Combine was just in Regina this past spring, right? Yeah. I know lots are hoping that they would be able to make it a little bit more of a production. There was CFL Week in the past, but either way, Edmonton going to be the hosts of that coming up in the springtime.
Yeah, I checked out a bit of the Combine this year, and it was pretty cool. But it wasn't very fan-friendly. Like, it wasn't like there was a lot of activities for people other than just sitting there and kind of watching the drills and stuff like that. So that's really cool for the diehards who really do want to just get out there and see and maybe just, visit with your friends from the season. So you'll get some people there, but it would be nice if they could kind of, make a CFL week or even a CFL weekend, or like just make it a little bit more enticing for your fans to come out and get to see these young up and coming stars.
Week 8 starts in Cowtown. The Calgary Stampeders 6.5-point favorites over the Montreal Alouettes at McMahon Stadium. The over-under is set at 49.5. The Montreal Alouettes come into the game with their starting quarterback Davis Alexander on the 6-game injured list. So we go back to McLeod Bethel Thompson as the starter for the Alouettes. So the records say the Alouettes 4-0 this year when Davis is starting, and 0-2 while McLeod Bethel Thompson is starting. I don't have the records off the top of my head, but was it an 0-7 start with the Elks last year for McLeod? And I'm not saying all of this stuff is on him, but over the past year, his win-loss record has been pretty dreadful, his fault or not.
Yeah, I think in Edmonton it was not so much his fault. I think he was still playing pretty well. It just they weren't able to, capitalize, and there was a lot of close games too. But it doesn't seem like he is that same quarterback this year when he's been able to get in there. I don't know if it's the not preparing as a starter. I don't know. But, I think lots of us thought that it was a very good situation having McLeod Bethel Thompson be that veteran backup for Davis Alexander. But so far, it has not turned out to be the case. So, he would have had this entire week to know that he was playing, and hopefully he's able to do something just for those fans in Montreal and, for some other Western teams who might want Calgary to lose. But it's, they're coming up against the best defense in the league, in my opinion. And, the previous games have shown us that they're not going to be able to do much. So, but there's been a lot of kind of upsets and shocking moments, and maybe shouldn't have been as shocking, but we kind of thought so in the past year. So, who knows? McLeod Bethel Thompson didn't forget how to play football and be a quarterback. So hopefully he's able to find something to at least make the game exciting and keep it close.
I'm just looking at league statistics. The Stamps giving up the least points a game. The Alouettes, second least points a game. The Stamps have given up the least touchdowns by a wide margin. 7 touchdowns given up on the year. Offensive touchdowns, and the next closest is actually Winnipeg at 12, but the Alouettes giving up the least yards a game. So strong defenses going against each other. The Alouettes giving up the least offensive yards per play. The Stamps are second in that category. So very strong defenses going against each other. I've been surprised. The Stamps are giving up yards. But I guess what's changed here is all of a sudden they're forcing turnovers. And when you're able to steal the ball away, man, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's what you need your defense to do, and when it happens, good things happens usually, as long as you're able to capitalize on all those turnovers.
So when I'm looking at last week's game, you remember the Alouettes, I think they started the game with 14 or 15 straight pass attempts. They weren't running the ball at all, which was kind of strange. They were against a Toronto team that at certain stretches this year has struggled against the run. Believe it or not, I was talking about the categories where the Stamps are good in. Against the run, they're giving up the most yards per carry in the CFL, 5.5 yards per carry, which really surprised me. And this is after 6 games. It's not just, and I know there was that weather game that they've had. Well, they've had a few crazy games. It does seem like you might have a chance to run against the Stamps. However, Jason Moss historically has not been really big on even entertaining that if there is an opportunity there. Last year, he was willing to throw to Walter Fletcher a lot. This year, I don't think they've really gotten the running backs going on a consistent basis as much as they would have liked. Is this going to be a Sean Thomas Erlington game? I could be wrong. Every time I try to make a prediction, it goes probably the exact opposite way. I don't know if I see this one being a high-scoring shootout. I kind of see it being one of those grinding, physical games here. And the Stamps definitely have the ability to put up the points and, make some high-flying plays out there. But if the Alouettes have their way, they're probably going to try to make it a down and dirty, ugly game in Calgary. And the Alouettes, we know, have the ability to do that with the talent they have on defense.
For sure. When you were reading those stats there and showing how close these two teams are in defense, it certainly lends to that theory that we will have a low-scoring game. But in the past, we have seen some times where two high-powered defenses match up with each other and the offenses somehow steal the show. And like you said, I think Calgary has the weapons to do that. I'm not so sure if Montreal does right now. Tyson Philpott's not going to be in there. We don't know what we have with McLeod, and like you said, Jason Moss's just inability to ever really try to establish a running game. So when it's a closer game, you need a running game just to be able to set up your passes to try to get some explosion plays. So I know they still have Austin Mack. I know they still have other great receivers. It's just Calgary's defense, I just think, is that much better than Montreal. So I see Calgary having more of a chance at getting offense than Montreal, obviously.
So Calgary's actually forced the most turnovers in the league, 19 of them. Montreal's forced 15. I know this is a lot of numbers. It can make eyes go crossed sometimes here and there, but Calgary leads the league in points off of turnovers as well, with 54 of them. So VA has been making teams absolutely pay for that. One stat that I find interesting here is that the Alouettes lead the CFL in sacks. And VA needs to stay clean. The Stamps have been doing a pretty good job of that. But these Alouettes, they're able to get after the quarterback from all angles of the field. They get the DBs in the backfield a lot. Noel Thorpe likes to mix it up a lot. Now, we know that Sean Lemon has signed a contract with the Alouettes. And look, they did a really good job of it because they signed him before the game last week against Toronto. He wasn't going to play anyway, so that counts as the one-game suspension. He probably wasn't going to play this week anyway, and now his suspension's done, and he's able to get on the field whenever. It's too bad. I would have liked to see Lemon play against one of his old teams, but Isaac Adeyemi Berglund is playing out of his mind, and he gets to play against his old team in Calgary as well. I think those Alouettes, and I think Noel Thorpe knows that that defense is going to have to make Vernon Adams Jr. very uncomfortable if they're going to win this game. maybe they're going to have to take some risks early on, and if VA's unable to make them pay, then that'll give the Alouettes a leg up early on in the Thursday nighter.
For sure, and just that's how Thorpe likes to game plan. He likes to confuse. He likes to send a lot of different looks, and he's just one of the most passionate coaches I think there is in the CFL. Like, he's always celebrating his big plays, or on the other side, flipping out when something bad happens. I just love when they have the camera on him. But he's definitely one of the best defensive minds in the league, and it'd be interesting to see what he's able to do to try to force VA into some predicaments where he has to chuck the ball up, and then just hope that some of those Alouette defenders can come down with the ball and create some takeaways.
We look at the Calgary Stampeders injury report. It's really too bad. This is an Alouette note, but Tyson Philpott ruled out, so we don't get to see the Philpott brothers play against each other on Thursday. Yeah. But for the Stampeders, receiver Malik Henry practicing in a limited basis, recovering from that knee injury. He's still going to be out. It does appear that DB Ben LaBrosse is going to be available. Jeshrin Antwi available against his old Montreal Alouettes team. I don't think Dave Dickinson is going to bring out the 1-yard punt and renewal of downs, but it's wasted talent if they don't use it, isn't it?
Do it, lady. Yeah, do it. I want to see that. I want to see the 1-yard punt again, because I want to see everyone flip their lids online in disgust.
Can you really be mad about a single point on a missed field goal but be okay with the 1-yard punt?
Somehow, yes. Yes, I can. Because one is a play that is in the rule book, and you have to. It keeps defenses honest, and they need to be able to cover. The other one,
the field goals are in the rule
failure. book. Yes, but if you are
field
at the
goals
left,
are a failure of getting a touchdown.
Yes, it's a chance.
So get rid of the uprights. Only touchdowns.
No. Now Dwayne's gonna send a message about how I'm not Canadian or something. Like, you're close enough to the field goal that you can kick it and it goes straight out 10, 15, 20 yards wide. You don't deserve to get those points.
Well, you don't deserve to get 3 points because you failed to get 6. So,
but you kick the field goal. You're such a mother. I just say it. You don't have to do it, but I almost did.
You almost did. I know if I swear, Sheldon thinks the floodgates open and he drops like 5 F-bombs the rest of the way. So I have to keep my...
I don't think I've ever dropped an F-bomb. They've all been S-bombs.
Oh, really?
I don't think I've ever said an F. Maybe like talking about maybe a quarterback last year, maybe, but I don't think so.
Clark Barnes remains out of the lineup for the Calgary Stampeders. So we'll see here if Damian Alford, who, by the way...
Rookie of the year. Just give it to him.
Does he continue that hot streak? I mean, last week, wasn't it 2 catches and 2 touchdowns? Like, the guy's on absolute fire right now.
Well, it's crazy when, like, you lose, Clark Barnes, you lose Bagleton, and like a rookie. It's so uncharacteristically that a rookie receiver like gets vaunted or like vaulted up to the number 1 receiver spot on your team, but he's been able to perform, and he's just... The moose is on the loose, and he's scoring touchdowns like crazy.
5 touchdowns in 3 games, 3 against the Bombers, 2 against the Riders, where he had 6 catches for 156 yards. He is on a hot streak right now. And, quietly, or is it quiet? Dedrick Mills playing really good football at running back for the Calgary Stampeders. You know what? Last year, I thought it was going to be Dedrick's coming out party, but he's basically already halfway to 1,000 yards on the ground. And he's still got 3 more games to go to be the halfway mark of the season. 90 carries, 466 yards, and 5 touchdowns on the ground already for Dedrick Mills of the Calgary Stampeders. Last year, he got to 923 yards in 13 games. This year, look, I don't want to jinx anything, but he's on pace to just absolutely smash that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it certainly hasn't been quiet. I've been hearing it loud and clear. That man is on a mission, and he is, credit to the blockers because, he's not getting yards without them. But whatever they're playing, whatever packages they're calling on the O-line for blocking and getting those holes open for him is working because he's having a lights out year, man. And as I said, like on the post-game show last week, like these Calgary Stampeders have found a way to completely rebuild and retool their team into legitimate contenders. And as much as I hate it, I'm just so impressed, and I can't say anything bad. They're the class of this league, and it's so sad. But good for them and good for Stamp fans because he had a couple rough years. That must have been tough. Other fan bases haven't really had to deal with that, right?
North on the QE2, they're like, oh, really? We're supposed to feel bad.
Yeah.
So I know they're pros, but you think VA still wants to beat Montreal when he gets out there?
Of course he does. Of course.
He wants to win every game. I know that.
No, but you're going to have, he has 3 or 4 teams that he can have a little
That's
bit
true.
of an extra, you guys didn't even give me a chance, and now I'm going to show you why you should have. And he did that to the Riders.
Damien Alford, by the way, Montreal is his hometown. So there we go. Alouettes, Stampeders on Thursday Night Football. And then Friday Night Football is in Regina. I actually think Rider fans over the past, we'll say 3 or 4 years, they may be a bit shell-shocked by what Edmonton has been able to do in Regina. Trey Ford, remember that was a winning game he had, breaking loose and hitting Geno Lewis for a big touchdown.
Javon Leak just destroying us.
That was last year. They ran all over the Riders when the Riders had, at that time, strongest rush defense in the league. And then we think of Taylor Cornelius looking like Ricky Ray with mobility.
Michael Vick and Ricky Ray had a baby named Cornelius. But only in Regina.
So, the Riders are 9.5 point favorites. So I could see how that could be tempting to Sheldon Jones, the newest degenerate gambler out there, according to our YouTube comments.
I won't be betting on Rider games. I don't think I can do that. So I'm sticking away from Riders when I bet.
Yeah, but if you bet against this is my advice. Bet against your team.
Yeah.
So if they win, you're like, all right, I lost $10. If they lose, all right, I won the bet
But I'd still be mad about losing the $10. $10 is a lot to me.
Well, here's some advice: bet 100 on the Elks.
Oh, jeez.
Because it pays 400 back. So I guess $500.
I already have a high stakes bet in the Blue Jays game tonight, so we'll see if that pans out.
The over
yes,
under
I'm a degenerate.
53.5 here, but the question mark for the Elks, we don't know who's starting at quarterback.
No.
Is it going to be Cody Fajardo, who, by the way, has not played in Mosaic Stadium since leaving the Riders?
He is not. He's scared of us.
Which is wild. He gets a Grey Cup title with the Alouettes, and when they came to Regina, I guess he was banged up and didn't play. And now he's got a chance to play at Mosaic wearing green and gold, which is a fascinating storyline. The only thing is we just don't know Now, here's the thing. If you're going to take half of Trey Ford's reps away and you're splitting them between Fajardo and Ford at practice, that kind of tells me that Ford's not starting Friday. And it does seem like people are leaning towards Cody getting the start in Regina. I don't know if it's Mark Killam trying to pull an O'Shea or a Dinwiddie here, playing a little bit of gamesmanship here. I know they're splitting the reps and they're trying to create the illusion of a competition at Elks practice, but who do you think's going to get the start on Friday?
I honestly don't know. I think you still got to start Trey, but I think maybe they're going to be working on those packages that they had, when Trey was actually doing great, and then they decided to put Cody in the game a few games ago. I don't know, man. I honestly just feel like if you start Cody, you're pretty much saying like Trey Ford's done. And I don't know how you can really do that when you just signed him to a 3-year deal, and there's some guaranteed money in some of those years, and he was been touted as your guy. So it's tough though, because he hasn't really been performing, and I'm not seeing a lot of drops that are not his fault. I'm seeing him starting to be able to maybe read the defenses a little bit better, but he's not getting to a second read. He's not if that first read's not there, it seems like he's just trying to salvage something. And usually, or not usually, but sometimes that can create exciting plays, and then the magic of Trey Ford is back. But is it really? That's the question. But also on the same side with Cody, he's cold. Okay, even if he's splitting first team reps, that still enough to be able to get Cody in there at his best? Maybe, I don't know, but is the motivation for Cody to play Saskatchewan tough? Or I mean, does that make it a better situation for him to go in there? I don't know. Mark Killam has quite the decision here, and I could see both being wrong, but also both being right. So that's a long-winded answer for me to say, what does Killam do? I don't know, but I just don't know. But I do think Trey's going to start. Is he going to finish? Playing in Regina against the Riders, yeah, he'll probably have a great game.
Well, hey, we're 2 weeks removed from his perfect efficiency rating against the Red Blacks, and I know it's the Red Blacks, but 1 week we're all celebrating him, and the next week we're get out of here, you're not our guy anymore.
Yeah,
but I just, man, I look at the rest of the offense, and I'm just not seeing it. I like Justin Rankin. I do like Javon Leake. But I do like Stephen Dunbar and Curly Gittins Jr. and Keon Julian Grant. But I don't.
They're not getting the targets though. They're not getting enough targets.
I just don't know if they, if you put those guys on Calgary or BC or Ottawa or Montreal, are they number one targets in those offenses? I don't know. I don't think so. So, are either of the quarterbacks in the best position to succeed right now? It's tough to see. It's that Elks defense, and I'm really a big fan of those linebackers, Nick Anderson and Niles Morgan, and that D line. They need to start making plays like that team south on the QE2 is doing, and stealing balls and putting their offense in the best position to succeed. They really need to get that complementary football going in Edmonton, and I don't think we've seen that on a consistent basis. If they can get that going, maybe they'll start to turn things around here. But it's just desperate times, and they just keep popping on top of each other because the losses keep mounting up, and it spills over into new seasons, even though there's a new roster and a new coach it feels like the exact same situation. So it does feel like a little bit of deja vu. We've been here with this Edmonton team going into Regina, and it feels like the Riders should stomp them in this one, and they just don't. So this is a big one for Corey Mace and the green and white. They need to show that they have that killer instinct, and they should win the games that they should win. And the Riders went into BC last week. I think some expecting them to lose. And Trevor Harris played out of his mind. They got Sam Amelis back into the lineup. And that offense looked really, really dangerous against the BC Lions. They need to do that again at home here against Edmonton.
Mm-hmm. They do. One thing that came out this week that was not ideal is Jameer Thurman is in a walking boot on the first day of practice when it didn't seem like really he injured himself in the game. So we're a little bit confused about that here in Riderville. But yeah, like you said, if the Riders are a good team, they need to start being a good team when they're expected to be a good team, not just a team that can come back and can let other teams hang in and then just, we're gonna win the fourth quarter and win games, which obviously will take wins. But like you said, a lot of people, myself included, really didn't have a good feeling about them going into BC, and yeah, they had a dominating game. That the score flattered BC in the end because of garbage time and maybe just some poor clock management by the Riders. So yeah, the Riders should score 40 points this game with how high-powered their offense has been, and just how I think Edmonton's giving up a lot of passing yards. But these injuries, like if Thurman's going to be missing the game, and he's like the quarterback of the defense. So you talk about other teams being down their quarterback. Well, your defense has a quarterback, and if he's down, then the next guy up, like who's going to be doing the calls? Like, are you trusting the next guy, or is it going to have to shift to someone completely different on the defense? So I'm very interested to see how that's going to kind of shape up, and Thurman would have been probably the guy that you would have spy Trey Ford or even Cody Fajardo, because he's prone to run too. So I'm worried about that, if I'm being honest.
Do you know which team is making the most big plays or has made the most big plays this year?
I feel like this is a trick question, and it's Edmonton, but
it's actually Saskatchewan.
Yeah. Saskatchewan, yeah.
Calgary number 2.
Yeah.
But Edmonton has given up, or they're averaging 330 passing yards against. That's the worst mark in the league. The Riders, 329.2 yards against.
I know.
So the second worst average. Actually, both teams, the Edmonton is allowing quarterbacks to gain 78.9 completion percentage a game. So, like
that's right up Trevor Harris.
That's when So is this a trap? Like, is Admiral Akbar?
Yeah, it is, because it always is. But it's time for Corey Mace and the Riders to show that they don't know what a trap game is anymore. Because if they want to be taken seriously as a Grey Cup contender, they need to win this game. They need to put a hurting on them at home. It's, from all indications, it's going to be a good crowd, maybe close to 30,000 people. That's what some of these so-called experts are kind of tracking out. I don't know if that's going to be true, but they, just like everywhere else, when you win, more people come, and so the Riders need to win again. They lost last home game after making their fans sit out there in a bunch of smoke the day before, and then they lost. So they need to bounce back huge here at home.
Saskatchewan, they're 8th in that department. 71.4 is their opponent's completion percentage against. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is this a good game on tap for both quarterbacks? Whoever plays for it, maybe all three quarterbacks. Three's company here. Edmonton is giving up almost 119 yards a game on the ground. That has been a source of strength for the Riders. AJ Ouellette having himself a nice season so far. If we do look at the practice reports for the Riders, Jameer Thurman was testing his mobility with his helmet on Wednesday. Corey Mace says that they were just taking it easy with him yesterday and he's going to be fine. Jameer Thurman has played through pain in the past. He did last year. Was it with a broken arm?
Yeah, we met him at the Grey Cup.
He had a sling on.
Because he's like, we asked him and he said he's been playing with a broken arm for like 4 weeks or something like that.
Crazy.
But a toe, like if let's say he broke a toe, okay, and so I understand you can tape toes up, but like unless they're just shooting it with Toradol or something, like, and maybe you can get through games like that, but like it honestly makes me feel sad that these guys have to do stuff like that just to perform and to make, but that's what they chose to do. But so I didn't know that. I didn't read today's, so that's good that you read that. But it'd be ideal if Thurman was in there. I would really like that, but I want him to make sure he's actually can go for actually just playing and maybe busting a tire on an important play and giving up something,
The Elks injury report. I'm absolutely blown away here that Jake Ceresna was a full participant in Wednesday's practice. This guy dislocated his knee twice in the same game.
Maybe Jake should be starting quarterback for the Elks. Unreal. Like,
I'm blown away.
I fell at work and I just landed on my knee a couple weeks ago and it still hurts. Like, and he dislocated his knee twice in a game and is going to play 2 weeks later. Like, he needs to be tested. No, I'm just joking.
So, I'm trying to remember this correctly. In stadium, I think they would play like a kid interviewing a player, and this was a few years ago. I think even before Ceresna went to Toronto, and it was a kid interviewing him, asking him his favorite food, and I think all he said was protein.
That makes sense.
So if I just eat protein, I can be like Jake Ceresna too. I don't think I have a problem getting that in my diet, but I'm willing to try to get more in there.
Good try.
The Elks injury report is not as kind to Devondrick Bynum, defensive back, who's now on the 6-game injured list. Not as kind to DB Royce Metier, who's on the 1-game injured list. Now the injuries are starting to hit the Elks defense, and we've seen them, it stretches at a time, been able to make it happen. But then, like when they went to Winnipeg, like Zach Collaros just looked like MOP Zach against them. So which version of them is going to show up Friday night in Regina? I mean, decent news for the Riders that they have signed Mario Anderson. He was the running back with them in camp, right? Kadeem Carey, he's out for the season with the knee injury, but Mario Anderson returning back to the Riders who spent camp there.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I kind of thought that they may kick tires at like Kevin Brown or like Fletcher's still out there, right? So I thought maybe they'd try to bring in another one of those veteran guys, but Anderson looked decent. Like he never really looked like special or anything like that. Like I didn't think anyway when I saw him in there, but hopefully there's just a steady dose of AJ Ouellette for the Riders, and then maybe Anderson can come in every 4th or 5th series just to give him kind of a break there. But they also have they have a Watchy at fullback. I don't know if they put him in to give him some. Like I'm not sure how they're going to actually do this because the running back room is just all in the tub right now, and that's pretty tough. But a lot of times they like to use the short passes and the hitch passes and stuff like that. So Oftentimes I kind of think that Mark Mueller is kind of using those as a running play with that kind of mentality. So maybe we'll see a little bit more from that from Trevor Harris. I don't know.
Sean Bain Jr. remains out. He's been practicing in full. He's not going to play Friday. Mario Alford not going to play Friday either. Same as offensive lineman Zach Fry, who is out with a head injury. We move on to Saturday, where the Toronto Argonauts are home to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers come into this game as 4.5-point favorites, and good news for the Blue Bombers. After leaving last week's game, after banging the back of his head off the turf, Zach Collaros seems to be fine. He's been practicing in full with the Bomber offense. Looks like he's ready to go.
Yeah, good news for him. I kind of wish he'd stop yapping about the hit, because it definitely wasn't late. It wasn't dirty. I don't know why he's trying to. He's been said in a few interviews. So, but I'm glad he's good, because the Bombers, they need a bounce back here after what Calgary was able to do to them at home. Well, I guess losing to Calgary back to back technically. They need a big win here for just their team and their morale. So Toronto looks to be like a decent opponent for them to pick up that win this week. So hopefully for them, they're able to do that.
The big man, Stanley Bryant, still not practicing, dealing with an ankle issue himself. So Zach might not have Stanley Bryant protecting that coveted blind side quite yet. But
Yeah.
Zach, maybe he feels like he needs to stand up for quarterbacks, because nobody else is.
Well,
He's had comments in the media in the past about some of the hits that he's dealt with over his career. He's taken a lot of punishment in his career. Some of it
Yes.
not so clean, like his time in Regina.
Short time, yeah. No, so here's the thing about that. I'm fine with him standing up for quarterbacks and stuff like that, but I am sure, and this isn't just because I'm a Rider fan. I'm sure if you took a poll or whatever of the last 2 or 3 years of the amount of times that people actually get those extra roughing the passer penalties when maybe it was close to borderline, Zach's got to be near the top of the list for getting those calls. I'm just gonna say it. Like he's certainly got hit, but there's certainly times when he's gotten calls when maybe it wasn't quite as bad as it was. But again, I'm for player safety, so I'm okay with the calls. But when it is an actual legitimate hit, he got hit in the chest. Like the guy who was hitting him did not land on him. Like there was nothing dirty about that hit. It was just a tough hit, and as a quarterback, you have to take those hits sometimes. I just wish he would just. It just makes him sound like a whiner and makes it sound like he's trying to get those calls when that shouldn't be a call. Then I'm kind of more on the fence or on the side of people who are like, just play flag football then, because if that was a roughing the passer, that's ridiculous. It's not the same thing that Deshaun Amos did to Drew Brown. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm saying here.
Is that the game? Inside the game, talking about this stuff, so the refs watch a little closer.
For sure.
Mike O'Shea's in the officials, and I am not against it.
No,
I like it. He's talking to the officials all game long, and I'm sure they're probably like, "Oh, great, I got to work the Winnipeg game." But there has to be a little bit of psychology in there.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah, it's everything counts when you're talking in the media, when you're on the sideline. Like, yeah, everything counts. So I wouldn't doubt that for a second.
Now we got to talk about the quarterback on the other side.
Yeah,
the QB1 for the Toronto Argonauts.
QB where?
I think this has become a pretty bizarre situation, Sheldon. Chad Kelly practicing with the ones early in the practice week, and then Wednesday returned to Buffalo.
Well,
Ryan Dinwiddie quoted as saying that it's an excused absence. We're looking through some different things to see what's the best choice for him as a player and for the organization. Right now, we don't have a clear-cut answer where he's at physically. And then he goes on to say it's tough when you're not playing, especially when you know you can help the team. Emotionally, I know that's tiring for him. We're trying to be there for him, but we also have to do what's right for his career and the future of the organization. He says that he feels physically ready on the field, but he's not completely back to where he needs to be. We just have to make sure there's no risk of further injury. The next few days will be a deciding factor. He says we can't rush him out there. We need clearance from certain people medically, and once we get that, we'll make a decision. Things have been pretty quiet with what's actually going on here, and maybe it's none of our business. Maybe we shouldn't pry. But we talked about this before we hit record. He hasn't been on the 6-game injured list, which has all sorts of salary cap implications for his team. So what is best for his team? He's getting paid over $600,000, one of the highest paid players in the CFL. It seems like the whole team is handcuffed with what's been going on here.
yeah, I don't understand it. Like, why is Ryan Dinwiddie saying this stuff now? This is the stuff that should have been said at the beginning of the season, because we as fans were led to believe that his leg was pretty much fine after like 2 or 3 weeks of the season, and that it was a toe injury, that he had a hangnail or something. That's what was reported, and I don't know if that was official from the team or just speculation from some of the TSN reporters or what, but it was reported that he was dealing with a hangnail toe injury. And then so now they're talking about, to make sure he's like, you can't do any more further damage to a hangnail toe. So they're talking about the broken leg now. And that's fine if you've had an injury setback, that sucks. And sorry to hear that, but this is like, you got to be upfront with the reporters, because I'm sure the reporters are asking about Kelly every week. That's their job, and that's the story, right? Like, he missed all these games last season for whatever that, and we don't need to talk about that. But now he's missing games this season, and you don't even put him on the 6-game injury list. You could have pulled him off at any time. You knew he was missing the first 2 or 3 games of the season at least. Is what Ryan Dinwiddie said in training camp. But this is just so irresponsible when it comes to managing a salary cap. We looked at I looked up what his contract was, and according to 3Down Nation, like you said, it's like $625,000, and in this season, that is hard money. So all of that counts. I don't know how much that is a signing bonus. He got a $250,000 signing bonus in 2024, so I don't know what it is for this season, but potentially, let's say he did get that signing bonus again for this season, potentially you're already at $300,000 or so, even more, already lost. That's counting towards your cap because you're irresponsible. You don't have him on the 6-game injured list. And like, I know fans in Toronto are divided on Kelly, but he's the starting quarterback. He's the QB1. So and Nick Arbuckle, he's been playing decent. He hasn't been getting it done. They've won 1 game. They're the defending Grey Cup champions. Like, this the whole situation is just bizarre, and I just can't understand how Argo fans are just like okay with this, and I'm sure they're not, but like, nobody seems to be taking the team to task or Dinwiddie to task to be like, be straight up with us, like, just explain what's going on. Don't be so like intentionally basic and withholding in your statements. It's frustrating.
If he doesn't dress next week, this is going to be a whole weird thing. Maybe he starts next week in Winnipeg, and this is all old news, but I don't want to disrespect him too much, more than he already has been, but and I'm talking about Chad Kelly here. That Argos team, I feel like almost most of the starting quarterbacks in the CFL would have done very well in that offense. And Chad Kelly does have a hell of an arm. He totally does. But look over the past few years, the offensive line success there, the running game has been their bread and butter for like 4 years since Dinwiddie's been there. And then the special teams, when they brought in Janarian Grant, this guy was putting them in great field position all over the place. So the specials were doing great. And then also, before Grant was Javon Leake, who was great in Toronto as well. So they've been able to keep the special teams great. And then the defense goes without saying. Wynton McManus in the middle of that defense can only do so much. But they were so strong. That roster top to bottom was so strong. This year, it's been exposed a little bit. I don't know if Nick Arbuckle will go out there and steal games. I don't know if he'll go out there and completely lose you games at the same time. But when the roster has taken hits in other areas, they're 1-5. So the fans probably are mad, wondering what the heck is going on. Yeah. With number 12, and these quotes don't help anything. To me, they almost add more question marks to me. What's going on here?
Like if he went down to Buffalo to get a second opinion on like maybe the CT scan or something, or just to get his own doctors or something, that's fine. Why do you have to be, it's just an excused absence? Like, just be straight up. Like, Chad Kelly's visiting his doctor. Like, I guess as fans, maybe we're not entitled to that, but like I think we kind of are. We're entitled to some transparency when it comes to the starting quarterback of a team who's 1-5, and you, like I said, you have the highest of the highs. You have 16-2, and then you don't make the game, and then you have a just awful first half of the season because of what happened. But you still somehow rally and you get to the Grey Cup and you win the Grey Cup, even despite having him get injured in the Eastern Final. And then now it's this. Like, what a roller coaster for Argo fans. It's unbelievable.
It's wild. Like, I don't know. Like, I could see this week having a couple unlikely results. Mm-hmm. Toronto and Winnipeg have had some pretty crazy games over the past few years here. Anything could happen in the CFL. Tavares McFadden had a heck of a game last week for the Argos in a losing effort against the Montreal Alouettes, albeit by 1 point. And the Bombers seemed very mortal against Calgary. To say the very least. In 2 games, the Calgary Stampeders put up 78 points on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And for long stretches last week, it seemed like that Bomber defense just couldn't get off the field. And the momentum that the Bombers were gaining, or not gaining, was wild. This is the same Bomber team that only gave up 14 against the BC Lions back in week 3. And that defense looked really good. So I think it's put up or shut up time for the Bomber defense too. Are they going to be able to rebound and start making some plays here? There have been times when that secondary's just looked completely lost out there.
The secondaries looked lost. Even the D linemen have looked lost and frustrated. We've seen Willie Jefferson get kicked out of a game for stupid stuff. We've seen him last week where he should have been kicked out of the game for just not even attempting to tackle, just to seriously headbutt somebody. So they're obviously getting frustrated with what's going on, and you can't take it out like that on the field. So um, yeah, what but this Winnipeg has done this, and then they've figured it out, and then they've gone on in the second half of the season to just become back to their dominant self and make it to the Grey Cup. So
See, that's
I
why I'm not really writing them off yet, but
no,
this is a
yeah,
tough stretch
it's
for them right now.
but it's tough, and they've sold eight games in a row, eight sellouts in a row, and if they continue to, not win or not continue to be their dominant selves, then that's gonna some people might decide to not go to games anymore. Like fans are fickle, man.
The Argo defense giving up 118 rush yards a game, 5.3 yards a carry, and 7.1 yards a play on first down. If they are allowing the Bombers to play in 2nd and 3 all night long, they will not win this game. It is as simple as that. Even in a losing effort last week against the Calgary Stampeders, the Bombers had to abandon the run game. And they had Brady Oliveira get 15 carries for 68 yards and another 5 catches for 40 yards. So that offense still runs through Brady Oliveira. 15 carries, like 20 touches a game. If he has another 20 touches against the Arcos, it could be a pretty nice night at the office for Mr. Oliveira.
Yeah, he is the key to their success. They need to be able to establish him, and it's going to be tough though with McManus there. And I know we said that the Argos defense isn't what it was, but anytime he's in the game and he's he's going to be one of the first guys to make contact with Oliveira coming out through the holes most times. So it's going to be an interesting battle to see if Brady's going to be able to make him miss or to bounce off those tackles, or if McManus is just going to be able to have his way with him, and they're going to have to find something else.
There is some injury issues with that Argo roster as well. Darius Sirocco has been limited on the offensive line in practice. Sage Dockstader, he was on the field last week. He didn't practice today. And then we have Winton McManus, who's battling through it. He didn't practice Tuesday, dealing with that knee issue. He was limited on Wednesday. We saw him battling through it last week. I'm sure he's going to be out there again to play on Saturday, but missing Brian Cox Jr., Anthony Lanier II, dealing with a hip issue. He hasn't practiced this week. So that tells me that it could be a nice little game for Brady Oliveira. But then last week, the Argos, early in the game, they had success moving the ball on the ground against the Alouettes with Deontay McMahon. And this, I feel like they're going to want to continue to try to establish that. As soon as the Argos couldn't run the ball, they become kind of lost. And McMahon can be a dual threat. He can catch the ball. He's shifty. He can run the ball, obviously, very, very well. He had only 7 carries last week, but he did have a touchdown on the ground, and he had 4 catches for 35 yards. I find he's a pretty good value in fantasy. Spoiler alert, he is on my roster. Are they going to try to run at those Winnipeg Blue Bombers and try to put Nick Arbuckle and the rest of the offense in decent position? However, Kevin Mattel, all the targets he's been getting lately, most of them are short. That seems to be the strategy that Dinwiddie's going with at the moment.
Yeah, I think, like you said, McMahon is just having a quiet good year, and there is value there. I don't know though. Winnipeg needs to have a statement game on defense, I think, and so they're going to be trying hard. So it's it's just going to be interesting to see the matchup that Dinwiddie's able to have against Winnipeg when it comes to scheming for the offense versus just that defense. Because you have guys like Cramdy who's going to come in there and be physical, and yeah, this one game actually could be just as defensive as we're kind of thinking that the Montreal and Calgary game is going to be, to be honest.
Yeah, I could see that too. On a roster note, the Argos bringing back offensive lineman Shane Richards. They're starting to get banged up on the O-line, so he's back with the double blue. Final game of the week is on the West Coast, where the BC Lions listed as 3-point favorites over the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and it's got the highest over-under of the week, 55.5 points. Oh man, this could be a fun game to wrap up week 8. Nathan Rourke against Bo Levi Mitchell. Here we go. Put on a show under the dome. I'm ready for it.
Oh, I hope so. Whenever we see these lines and the over unders and they're high, and we see high powered offenses, we want to see that shootout game. So I'm hoping that's what it's like. But at the same time, BC, they've been a Jekyll and Hyde team as well. Like, sometimes it seems like their offense is rolling, and sometimes it seems like they can't seem to figure it out until later in the game when the game's out of hand. So I do think that both defenses are kind of susceptible to some bigger plays and the like. So the chances are high that this is going to be a nice shootout game, but I think Hamilton's going to do it, but we'll see.
See, this is BC's number 1 in passing yards a game, Hamilton number 2. BC number 1 in passing touchdowns, Hamilton number 2. So here's the thing. Both teams, though, 2 of the top 3 teams in least passing yards against. So these secondaries, they can play. Hey, Ronald Kent Jr. is having a nice start to his CFL career with the Lions. We've seen Gary Peters. I'm assuming that Gary and the King are going to be having some words throughout this game. And I wish there was an isolated camera just on every single route. Like, give it to me. Then on the other hand, Stavros. He's delivering these punishing hits, and also he's creating turnovers. But the BC Lions, is that Deontay Williams? Hey, I know he got a spearing penalty on one of those. Or has he had 2 hits on defenseless receivers this year? He smashed one of the Edmonton Elks, I think, in week 1. I know they got flags, but you do have to watch out when he's on the field. And then there's Jamal Peters doing what he does in the Hamilton Tiger Cats secondary. No relation between Gary and Jamal Peters, I don't think. But there could be some amazing battles to watch. Plays going either way for the defense or for the offense. I hope I'm not hyping this game up too much, because I'm pretty excited for the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I am too. I've had it circled ever since I looked at the schedule, and unfortunately, a lot of times when we do hype up these games, it turns out to be a defensive game. So I hope that's not the case.
It's the litter bowl. I mean, the kiddies. Toe to toe. I don't know what they market this one as. They probably don't want it to be the litter box.
I don't think it's... That'd be if Edmonton and Ottawa was playing.
Oh, man. James Butler has been rolling for the Lions as well. 2 weeks ago, he got 30 carries against Edmonton. But the Ticats have been quietly all right against the run so far. Less than 90 yards a game, which statistically is pretty decent. The Lions giving up the most rush yards a game so far. So the Ticats dealing with injuries with Greg Bell. So Johnny Augustine has been carrying the rock as well as Treshaun Ward. Will the Ticats try to run the ball, or are they just going to throw it up to all the great receivers that they have access to? Like, Ticats, Keandre Smith, who is having some nice catches and nice games recently. There is Tim White out there. He's going to have a big one. The King, and then the BC sideline, Stanley Berryhill, touchdowns in 3 straight games. Keon Hatcher, Justin McInnes has been quiet. Is he going to stay quiet? I somehow doubt that.
And they got Everhart too. Like there's a lot of receivers.
Let's go.
Let's go.
We're gonna get a 4-3 game on Saturday night.
I want a 40-43 game. Let's go.
I think this is going to be a good one, and we'll see who's got their team more prepared. Early in the year, I wasn't too impressed with Buck Pierce, but the way that, they've sort of recovered. They beat Montreal. I know it was with McLeod Bethel Thompson. They handily beat Edmonton, and that was an Edmonton team coming off a win against Ottawa, and some thought they might be able to get a win. It feels so long ago already. And then had that loss against Saskatchewan. Scott Milanovich, on the other hand, I didn't know how I felt about him last year, but it seems like he and Bo are now on the same page, and that's a dangerous place for the rest of the league.
Yeah, and they've won 4 in a row. Like they're rolling, and they, especially with Alexander being hurt, with what we don't know what's going on with Chad Kelly, and with Drew Brown being hurt. Like this is the time for Hamilton to put down the accelerator and just take control of this East Division. Yeah,
the Ticats won in BC Place last year. Let's see if I can find the results. I think it was an overtime game. Where they went to BC and won. I'm double checking here. Yes, 32-29 in overtime last year. So the Ticats coming off a win at BC Place, and then we go to 2023 where the Ticats beat the BC Lions 30-13. So I think Bo likes playing under the dome, and he's going to try to have himself a nice game on Sunday night. I just really think this is going to be a fun one to watch. I was tempted to try to build my fantasy roster exclusively with players from this game, but we're officially at the point in the fantasy season where salaries are now going up, and now it's getting difficult to make rosters. Did you find that this week?
I did, but I actually tried to I went with a couple value picks just so I could get some of those higher priced targets. But I've played around a lot with it, and to be honest, I still might be playing around with it some more. But I've got it where I think it's good right now.
Let's talk about the CFL Podcast Fantasy League, where I have moved out of the basement. Sorry, Kayla from the Turf District podcast. You are now in last. I am in second last because I had a victory over the Argos Fancast. It was a tight one, a 119 to 113.9. You had a 30-point loss to Rouge, White, and Blue. So,
thanks.
Week 8, CFL Podcast Fantasy League. It's Sheldon Jones versus the CFL Outsiders, and me against Ryan Cooper. So, let's see how I do here. What did Cooper do last week? 114. So I would have beat him last week. So let's see if I can make that 2 in a row, because I am currently in second place in the 2 and Out patron exclusive CFL Fantasy League. I got to win myself this league so I can buy myself a CFL jersey. So my lineup is Nathan Rourke as my quarterback and my captain, Brady Oliveira as my RB1, Deontay McMahon as my RB2, Tim White, WR1, Justin McInnes, WR2, Sean Thomas Erlington in my flex, and the Argo defense, because they were the only one I could afford. I wanted to have the Stamps or the Riders this week. Maybe they have 2 defensive touchdowns apiece or something like that, but I decided to just sacrifice the defense this week.
Yeah, I kind of did the same. At first, I actually had Edmonton in there because they were like only 4,000. I'm just trying to save some more money. But so yeah, I do have the Argo defense. Right now, I have Trevor Harris as my quarterback and captain. I don't know if I'm going to keep that or not, but I think that's a solid pick. But that just means that he's going to have a terrible game if I pick him. So I don't know if a jersey's worth the rider loss there. For my running backs, I have, just like somebody else, Brady Oliveira and Deontay McMahon. My wide receivers, I have Alford. I do think he's going to hopefully get another touchdown or 2. I got Kenny the King Lawler, and then I have just my value flex is Joe Robicelli.
Man, you have some high-flying talent on that team of yours.
I do, but watch me get like 60 points, because that's how it happens.
Before we lock in our picks for Week 8, Sheldon's updated CFL Power Rankings. Bum, bum, bum.
Not much has changed. I just have to pull it up here. I had it. So Calgary, number 1, Hamilton, number 2, Saskatchewan, number 3, Winnipeg, number 4, Montreal at number 5, and then we're starting to get into the lower teams here. Just kidding. BC, number 6, they're still up there. The last 3 were tough, I'm not going to lie. But Toronto is still in 7, Edmonton is in 8, and Ottawa is in 9. We'll see what happens next week because those teams are so close. We'll have to figure something out if there's not some wins there. But that's the power rankings this week. Let me know how much you hate them.
Week 8 of the 2025 CFL season is here, where the Calgary Stampeders are 6.5-point favorites at home against the Montreal Alouettes. The Riders, 9.5-point favorites at home against the Edmonton Elks. The Bombers are 4.5-point favorites on the road in Toronto. And the BC Lions, 3-point favorites over the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Vancouver. Sheldon, I'm going to lock it in. I am going to go with... I'll go in reverse. Ticats, Bombers, Riders, Stamps. Who do you got?
Okay, well, I'm going to go in forward. Stamps, Riders, Bombers, Ticats.
I might switch it to the Lions.
I
might switch it to the Elks.
You go right ahead. My pick 'em has not been great lately, so I think Hamilton's gonna do it, and they're underdogs on the road technically. So, and I want to win money.
You can rate, review, and subscribe to 2 and Out on your favorite podcatcher. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe and leave a comment there. Even if you're just calling Sheldon a hypocrite and a degenerate gambler, I'm okay with it. Just leave me out of your comments, all right? We'll talk to you after Week 8 on 2 and Out.
The 2 and Out CFL podcast is written, produced, and hosted by Travis Currah and co-hosted by Sheldon Jones. Subscribe to 2 and Out on all major podcast platforms and YouTube to keep up to date with future shows.